So I will check about Kate and come back to you.
Please, thank you.
I'm here.
Oh, you're here?
I'm
Oh,
here.
okay.
I finally
You're welcome.
got the right Zoom join code. I'm waiting for my video to unlock here.
أهلاً وسهلاً، ما شاء الله. You are in the screen now.
Hello.
Hello.
Alhamdulillah, I'm in.
What time is it now? What time is it, Dr.
It's
Ahlam?
just a little bit before 11 a.m. here in the US.
MashaAllah. That's great.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Very
you can
happy to be
share,
with you.
you can share the PowerPoint.
Yes. Yeah.
Have you had a minute to make the Zoom polls?
I don't have access to polls.
You don't have access to polls.
Yeah, we might
Okay.
have to do like a whiteboard thing or something. So let's see. Let me
Maybe just a chat. Just have them put them in the,
Yes.
Yes,
in the chat.
yes, you can have the chat, and even the mics will work for our participants.
But no Zoom polls, right?
I'm not sure if you have polls
Okay.
for Zoom. We have Q&A and the chat box. So the screen now is okay. We have the PowerPoint presentation. I will wait till 6 p.m. here in Jordan, in Amman. Then we'll start.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
I'm gonna start my timer. Let me see if we can do the whiteboard. Or shall I do Mentimeter? Just add them.
It's up to you. We have a Mentimeter already, but maybe not. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe not for now.
Let's just do the chat. We'll do a waterfall chat. Just everybody put first.
I think they
first-
started doing that already.
Yeah. So I think we need to just ask them, put the question, be specific about what we'd like them to put in the chat since we don't have the Zoom.
Inshallah.
Okay.
Let's see. I don't think I even have access to a whiteboard.
Let's not worry about the whiteboard. They can see the
Yeah.
chat too, right?
Mhm.
We'll just keep it simple.
Reflect in practice, in classroom.
Yep. Learning as we go.
Yep.
Yes, I will start now, maybe because we have a long introduction.
Okay.
You do?
So we
Okay.
have more
Yes.
than 100 participants here, Ahlam.
It's great.
So yeah, we're just
I-
going to keep it simple.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
I am sure it will be an amazing session.
Shukran.
Inshallah, Bismillah. So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome to the distinguished annual event, the Queen Rania Teacher Academy Forum 2025, held under the theme Education for Tomorrow, Fostering Citizenship and Values in a Changing World. We are delighted to have you with us and extend our sincere gratitude for your valuable participation in this global educational gathering that brings together teachers, experts, and policymakers from around the world. Established in 2009 and in line with Her Majesty Queen Rania Al Abdallah's vision, Queen Rania Teacher Academy is a non-profit organization committed to supporting and empowering educators with the skills needed to nurture and lead future generations. The Academy remains committed to providing innovative, high-quality professional development programs in Jordan and the Arab world. The QRTA Forum stands as one of the Academy's most prominent annual initiatives, offering a platform for educators, researchers, and education leaders to exchange experiences, discuss emerging challenges, and inspire meaningful change in education. This year's forum focuses on strengthening citizenship and values through education, featuring key themes such as active citizenship, education for sustainable development, digital citizenship, teaching and learning, and educational leadership. Before today's session begins, we would like to remind you that certificates of attendance will be provided, and we invite you to complete the feedback survey shared at the end of the event to help us continue improving our future initiatives. Please allow me to introduce Kate Copeland. Kate Copeland recently retired from the University of Delaware, having spent more than 20 years as a teacher of English and international teacher educator, working with learners from early childhood to the university level and beyond. Her collaboration with colleague Dr. Ahlam Darahma have included projects with the Ministries of Education of Palestine and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Most recently, she served as a consultant for English language programs at the Asian University for Women in Bangladesh. For Dr. Ahlam Darahma, Dr. Ahlam Bardarahma brings more than two decades of experience in English and Arabic instruction across diverse educational contexts, including universities and K-12 schools in the United States and abroad. She holds a PhD in curriculum and instruction with a concentration in second language education from Texas A&M University, and remains committed to ongoing professional development and scholarly management. Her teaching portfolio encompasses ESL, linguistics, and teacher education, and she has held leadership roles in the administration of ESL programs serving both adult and youth populations. Dr. Ahlam and Kate, the mic is yours.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Allah يعطيكم العافية. Kate, you want to do your Arabic?
مرحبا. Welcome everyone.
تشرفنا بالجميع. Wow, we didn't expect 145 people. Thank you. شكرا دكتورة محمد النجار. الله يعطيك العافية. Thank you for that introduction. Welcome everybody to our reflection and collaboration workshop. We're going to introduce ourselves. Let me just
do a screen share.
Okay. We will introduce ourselves a little bit more extensively in a little bit, but just an overview. We're going to talk a little bit about the technology we're going to be using today in terms of engagement.
Have you screen shared?
Yes.
I can't see it.
You can't see it?
No, it's all right.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't
Dr.
see it.
Muhammad, can you see?
Is everybody can see the screen?
You're muted, Dr. Muhammad.
Yeah.
You can see the screen?
I can see you only, but I will fix this, inshallah.
Can you see our PowerPoint?
No.
Yes.
Now it's okay?
Okay.
Is it okay now? No.
And then you clicked on sound share, right?
Yes, let me share again.
Here we go.
Yes.
Here it comes. Here it comes.
Excellent.
There we go.
Okay. I'm sorry. I thought I was under the assumption that everybody can see. Okay, perfect. Now you can see us.
Okay.
Okay, great. So back to what we were saying about the technology we're going to be using in terms of collaboration here and engagement. Then we're going to talk a little bit about our story and our experience. Because our session is about reflection, we're going to talk about the what, the how, and the why. What is reflection? How do we reflect as professionals? And why do we reflect? Then we're going to end with some tips and takeaways for us and for our students. Some of the technology we're going to be using, we were supposed to be using Zoom polls, but I didn't know that we didn't have access to that. But we can talk about it later if you're not familiar with it. We will use Mentimeter, Padlet, and Zoom Chat. هاي التكنولوجيا اللي رح نستخدم. And we will code switch a little bit between عربي وإنجليزي. So I hope this is okay with everybody. If you would give us a thumbs up if that's okay with you with the code switching شوي عربي شوي إنجليزي. Or if there is a preference, we would appreciate your feedback. Okay, so as Kate and I introduce ourselves, maybe you can in the chat, and I know many of you have already introduced themselves, but it would be great if you can maybe put your, if you want to put your name, that's fine, but we're interested in the grade level. أي صف بتدرسوا elementary, ابتدائي, إعدادي, ثانوي أو جامعة. So K through 5, 6 through 8, middle school, 9 through 12, high school or higher ed. And what subject you teach? Just for us to get a feel of who's in the room. بنحب نتعرف عليكم، نعرف الفئة العمرية اللي بتدرسوها والمادة اللي بتدرسوها إذا ممكن. وإحنا رح نعرف في نفسنا إن شاء الله أنا وكيت. Kate, do you want to start by introducing?
Sure. So I am so pleased to be here. Hello to everyone. So honored to have so many people visiting with us today. My name is Kate Copeland. I've had the great pleasure of working with Dr. Ahlam on several teacher training projects for the Khibrat initiative from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for K-12 teachers, not just English teachers, but teachers of all subjects. And also a great privilege to work in a collaboration with 6 universities in Palestine across the West Bank and Gaza for 3 years up until the middle of 2023, working on kindergarten teacher training development. And that was a huge learning experience for me as well as everyone on my team, which ties into what we're going to talk about today in terms of reflection and collaboration. My background is as an English language teacher, so I've taught with college students, adult immigrants to the United States, and also children as young as kindergarten. So that's me. And now to you, Dr. Ahlam.
Thank you. Ahlam Daragme. I am currently serving as a ESL coordinator and an assistant professor at the Peabody Institute of the Johns Hopkins University. It's a music school, part of the Johns Hopkins University. So I teach international students who are mainly from China, Taiwan, South Korea, and different other countries. I have taught Arabic as a foreign language here in the United States as well. I've taught at the University of Jordan at some point in my life. So I have strong ties with Jordan because I finished high school in Jordan, and that's where I grew up. خلصت توجيهي في عمان توجيهي علمي, but I ended up teaching English and Arabic. I served, as Kathleen said, in teacher training programs such as خبرات في السعودية You forgot to mention مصباح, Kate.
Yes.
Yes.
You can talk about that. Yeah.
Sure. آخر مشروع عندنا مع بعض مشروع مصباح, وهو لتدريب المعلمين في قطاع غزة بالذات, لأنه صار في انقطاع لتدريب المعلمين. أنا وكيت ومجموعة من الزملاء مع جامعة غزة, الجامعة الإسلامية في غزة. Isn't it the Islamic University of Kate?
Al-Azhar. Yeah.
يعني في هذه الظروف الصعبة بس حاولنا واشتغلنا على تدريب المعلمين في الميدان. فإحنا بنتشرف معرفتكم جميعا. I see a lot of STEM education teachers, right? Biology, and we're all over the place. إن الشرف نكون
All
هون.
grade of elementary and high
Yes.
school and everything. So we're all over the place. And I want to say, I think this is relevant for all age levels, all the way up to
Definitely.
college and university.
إحنا
So,
سعيدين جدا بوجودكم, and I think this, like you said, is appropriate for everybody here. Thank you. تشرفنا بمعرفة الجميع. Okay, خلينا نبدأ what does reflection mean? Since our topic is reflection, and just as some context information here and background, when Kate and I started working together, we worked on a teacher training program. I'm so sorry about the sound here. I thought the library would be much quieter than my house, but apparently the library is not. We started working with Arabic speaking teachers, and the first dilemma that we encountered in terms of reflection was, what does reflection mean in Arabic? إيش معنى كلمة reflection في العربية؟ يعني هي linguistically ممكن نعتبرها انعكاس, like your reflection on the mirror or something like that. بس كمان طلعت كلمات مثل تفكر, تأمل, كلمات مختلفة. So what we're going to do first here is we have a Mentimeter. If you can scan the code.
yeah, I also put the link in the chat.
And Kate put the link in the chat as well. If you can click on that, or if you want to scan the code, we have 3 questions on there, just to see what we all know or think in terms of what reflection means.
So Mentimeter is a very useful tool for collaborating in your classrooms if your students can use their phones, because you can then easily present the results as participants enter their ideas. So I suggest putting just 1 or 2 words in each question, and it gives an idea of where everyone's thinking is, so that you can focus your teaching based on what participants' background knowledge is.
And I think it works for all ages if they have electronics,
Yeah.
right? I know my students in college level really enjoy Mentimeters. So ممكن, and I'm glad some people are writing in Arabic. We forgot to mention that. So ممتاز, yeah, بالعربية, بالإنجليزي, whatever language you're comfortable with. Kate speaks French too. I speak some Spanish, so feel comfortable.
And it's okay if you just want to put it in the chat too. We can see
Yes.
that as well.
Right. تمام. تأمل, رؤية حلوة, رؤية الشيء, رؤية حول شيء ما, رؤية حول شيء ما, التأمل, تفكر, التعمق في استيعاب التجربة, ذاتي, bouncing back. I like that one.
Feedback about the class, the knowledge gained from lessons, revisiting what was done. Yeah, but you can see a lot of you have some similar thoughts. The biggest words, the ones that are the most frequently
associated
with participants.
Yes.
Yeah, those are the
So
ones that you are using the most. Yeah.
So we can see that thinking is very dominant, I think, here. Self-awareness is a nice one. Reception, feedback, okay. Ideas of thoughts, review, careful thinking.
So yeah, I think, what do you think? I think they already have a good idea of what we mean by reflection. So we're gonna talk about how to do it in a structured way in a sort of structured, productive way, not only for yourself, but also in collaboration with your colleagues, your fellow teachers, and also how it can be an excellent model for your students to take ownership of their own learning. Did you want to go to the next? There were
Sure.
two or three questions in this?
There are 3 questions actually.
Yeah.
I'm trying to go to the next question. It's not allowing me. Oh, here. Okay, so the next question, same link. You just continue.
Yeah. So when you click submit, it should take you to the next question.
Yes. So in an educational context, who should reflect? مين اللي لازم يقوم بهذا العمل التفكري أو التعمق بالفكر؟ Teachers, students, admin and staff الإدارة كمان. Teachers and students, everyone. What do you think? السؤال تمام. Okay. I was just
Yeah.
wondering if they had access to it. Right.
Yeah, it's coming. So you can see, what people think.
And again, there's no right or wrong answer to all our questions.
So a lot of people are thinking everyone, a lot of people thinking teachers and students
Teachers.
together, but of course, especially students and teachers. So yeah. Do you want to go to the next one?
Sure. I just wanted to wait a few seconds just to see what the majority.
Yeah.
Maybe it's interesting that students, not too many admin and staff. Okay, so maybe a tie between everyone and teachers and students. Okay, good. Next slide. How often should they reflect?
And this is an open-ended question, right? Are we going to get a word splash?
I think so. Oh no, there's a choice, I think.
Okay.
So should people reflect daily, or this is an ongoing process all the time? Maybe after each lesson. There's a spelling mistake. Almost. People. I thought I'm the one who wrote this. I'm sorry. I thought.
Don't worry.
So this is like a word. Okay. I was trying to remember.
Yeah, it's like a word list.
Yeah, a word list. Okay.
So you can see Mentimeter has lots of different ways to present
Yes.
responses. You have lots of flexibility in this tool, and it has a free version. So that's what I like best.
Yes. So daily, all the time, maybe after each lesson, each day after a lesson, every time.
Yeah.
I'm loving this group already.
Yeah, very, very active.
Okay. There's a vote as well. Is it showing on your screens? Okay, yeah, that they can vote. Great. Again,
We have
different-
140, 200
Yeah, we're
100
not going to
people.
wait
We
too
might get.
long.
I think we're going to move ahead. I think we all get the idea about
Yes.
what the ideas are that are already in the minds of our participants.
Thank you. Okay, let's just go back to this. Great, thank you. Thank you for participating with us in that. Okay, so before we start the theory and all the talk, Kate will share with us one of her teaching experiences with this lovely Miranda, who is now how old, Kate?
Well, she was. I worked with her for 3 years, so she started at age 6 all the way to almost age 10. So
And
as
20
a
some.
forms, now she is probably 20 now. So these are older pictures. This comes from a time when I was moving from teaching college students to being assigned as a specialist in the public schools here for K-12. So I was learning a lot about new age groups, new demographics, new student populations, and the language needs of a different kind of student group than I had worked with before. And so this, just to give you an idea, this is a picture of a kindergarten class. I had many young kiddos from Yemen, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Kenya, Sudan, Vietnam, Philippines, China, every possible language in this group. So one of the cool things about that was that they all had to speak a common language in order to communicate with each other. And of course, that was English. But when I first started out, I had the curriculum, and one of the things that we had to do was just have a morning routine where we did the same thing every morning. We talk about the weather and what day of the week it was and what was the date and how do we tie that into numbers. And I always started with just a general question like, what's the weather today? And, the first few times I did that, they all look at me with blank stares, right? Even though we had discussed words for weather in the previous lessons, and they would just look at me like what we would say, deer in the headlights, like an animal scared because the lights are too bright. And I had to think really fast, how can I engage them? And I remembered I had to go back really quickly in my mind. What are some things that I learned in my training as an ESL teacher that maybe I haven't used in a long time? And quickly my mind went to, oh, don't just ask open-ended questions. Give them a choice of answers. So then I eventually, within the lesson, I said, what's the weather today? Is it hot or is it cold? And then I started to get responses, right? But this one little girl, Miranda, she was from Mexico. She was the only one who spoke Spanish in the class. And she had these very sad eyes all the time. And whenever I would call on her to answer a question, most of the other children were very energetic. They didn't care if their answers were right or wrong, and they would just call out and be very full of energy to participate. But Miranda would sit there very quietly and not say a word. And I talked to the other students' teachers that worked with her, and she said it's the same thing, that she will not talk. And eventually I had to kind of really problem solve over time about this young girl, because I couldn't tell whether she didn't understand anything or whether she had some emotional issues. Over time, we all the teachers that worked with her realized, well, she won't talk when there's a classroom activity, but boy, she likes to manage all of the other students when it's not a structured lesson time. So she'll make sure everyone is sitting in the right place, right? So she will whisper in other students' ear, or she'll nudge them like, as if to say you're doing it wrong. And I realized she's the oldest of 7 children in her family. And so she was like the little mother of her family. So moving forward, go to the next slide now. I realized, how can I engage her in ways that she feels comfortable? And I realized the best thing to do was not only to use choice questions, but to let her kind of be the boss in an activity. So I would ask a question to the whole class, but then she would have to decide whether the question was right or wrong. So all she had to do was say yes or no. She didn't have to give a lot of words, but she could decide whether other students were answering correctly or not. And here you can see her in the middle picture. She's not doing the writing. She's coaching another young girl what to put on the board. And that was where she was most comfortable, so I could see how she was participating. So that's my little story that's going to move into later how we connect this to some of the frameworks, the theoretical frameworks of reflection.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Kate, for sharing that story.
Sure.
I knew kindergarten stories are more interesting than college stories.
Well, it's a very concrete example, and there are lots of other things we could talk about, but we're just going to start with something like that.
Thank you. Thank you, Kate. Okay, so back to the boring stuff, right? Not the story. What is reflection? And as many of you know what the official or the theoretical meaning of reflection is, but in a nutshell, it's really to think deeply about something. And it can be in a professional setting, it can be in your personal setting as well. And it's just basically to think about your experience, what you learned from it, how you can improve it, and just reflect on it, right? So being a reflective practitioner, so we're all teachers, or we're in the educational sphere, or we were maybe for some of you. And being a reflective practitioner is nothing really special. It's just a regular person like you and me, right? And we all, as teachers specifically, stop every once in a while to think, right? And not everything we do is perfect. And we know that even as parents, not just as teachers, we often just stop and think. We look back at what we did and how we did it. Maybe we
No, we
consider
don't.
doing things differently. I'm sorry, is there a question?
Let's move on.
Okay. And then we reflect on the work we did. So there are 2 types of reflection that we would like to talk about, and then Kate will model based on her story how to deal with this. And the first one is reflection in action. So خلال العمل أو خلال الدرس كيف ممكن إحنا نتأمل أو نتفكر. فأحيانا مش لازم يكون بعد lesson. So some of you said to reflect after each lesson, which is fine as well, but also we can reflect when we're in the lesson. So إحنا بنكون منتبع على طلابنا ونراقبهم ونراقب الأحداث في الصف، وممكن من خلال هذا الصف إن نعمل هذه عملية التفكر والتأمل. So in action خلال العمل. ومن ثم في reflection on action، وهي reflection بعد أو التأمل والتفكر بعد ما انتهت الحصة أو بعد ما انتهى النشاط، وكيف ممكن نحسن أو نغير في أسلوبنا. فهذه من كولب 2015 كولب 2015 the reflection cycle. هي بتبدأ experience بتجربة معينة، ثم نتأملها ونتفكرها ونتعمق فيها reflect upon it. Then we develop new ideas. فبناء على هذا التفكير وهذا العمق نأتي بأفكار جديدة، ومن ثم نطبق هذه الأفكار. We put these ideas into practice. نرجع كمان مرة نطبقها ونشوف نتفكر فيها. فهي عبارة عن cycle، عن دائرة دائما، مش مرة واحدة إنه واو وصلنا لآخر مرحلة، هي دائما متجددة.
So this is where I'm going to try to connect the reflection in action and the reflection on action. So as I mentioned about the lesson on the weather, I had to think on my feet very quickly in order for the lesson to move forward. How can I quickly change what questions I'm asking in order to engage the students? And so I remembered what I had learned from my TESOL training about choice questions and word banks, and I quickly switched from an open-ended question model to a choice question model. And I think I might have also added pointing to words on the board that had pictures so that the students could connect the non-linguistic ideas to the words I was using. So that was what I would say reflection in action. And the other example of reflection on action, I would say this is where I went to the other teachers, Miranda's other teachers, to get their experience and talk about what their experience was with her so that I could problem solve with them on who Miranda was and what were her strengths so that I could bring them into lessons in the future, which I did over a period of a couple of weeks and a couple of months to get her more comfortable with engaging in the way that she felt comfortable, and so that she was more willing to take chances in the class activities. So that's how I tie it into my story, reflection in action and reflection on action.
Thank you, Kate. So I like that metaphor of being on your feet, right? Is it? Or
thinking on your feet, yes.
Thinking on your feet, thinking on your feet. I don't know how that would translate in Arabic, بس يعني الواحد يفكر في لحظتها. وأكيد كلنا كمدرسين بنفكر في لحظتها ومن الكلاس أو الحصة في وقتها أو التدريب. Thank you, Kate. So now how do we reflect? رح نحكي شوي عن كيفية التأمل أو التفكر في مجال التدريس، ورح نحكي عن بعض الخطوات أو best practice من أفضل الخطوات لتحقيق ذلك.
Shall I begin?
Please.
I want to direct you to the word in the upper right corner, descriptive. I think this is a very important word to consider. This means that it is not evaluating right away. The first step is to just describe the experience in very concrete terms without adding judgment or evaluation, so that you can leave yourself open to learning in a growth mindset rather than saying right away whether something was good or bad. So, and then you can paraphrase as we go. The personal part, this is just for yourself. This is not for the idea of who's going to see me teaching or what supervisors or administrators are going to evaluate my performance. This is for you and your own learning, your own professional learning, self-driven. And of course, it should be relevant to the students' needs, to what you need to gain from the reflective experience. Being self-critical meaning an honest, thoughtful review just for yourself, okay, about what the areas were for improvement, also with the successes, leaving room for both. And then, of course, after that is going on to beyond simple description to the analysis part, where you're thinking objectively about the reasons why a lesson went a certain way, either successfully or not. What was involved? Was it just, you not only want to think about your actions as a teacher, but also your students' responses, what they were doing. Sometimes that is much more informative than what you were doing, watching what the students are doing. And of course, finally, it's meant to drive continuous improvement and enhancement in your own teaching experience, to give you a sense of empowerment in your art and craft as a teacher. So if you want to add anything to that, Halam.
Sure. يعني جدا مهم إنه نركز على موضوع descriptive ووصفي، يعني يكون التفكر والتأمل وصفي وليس evaluative، يعني ما يكون فيه حكم إنه أنا ما درست منيح اليوم، أو كان ممكن أدرس أحسن، أو إنه يعني فقط الواحد يوصف. ممكن إيمان نعمل ميوت لو سمحتي؟ فما يكون في حكم، ما يكون في تقييم للعمل، ولكن يكون فقط وصفي، نصف كيف إنه الطلاب كانوا بس هيك صافنين فيه مثلا، أو مش نحكي أكيد ما فهموا علي، لا، يكون يعني ما بدنا نكون كمان so hard on ourselves. كمان كم نقطة pick an area of focus. أكيد طبعا دكتور محمد إذا ممكن تساعدنا to mute. Okay, so من الصعب طبعا إن نصف كل شيء في الكلاس. It's impossible to describe everything around us. We do say that teachers have eyes on the back of their heads. صح، بنحكي إحنا بنشوف من ظهرنا، والطلاب عن جد بيأمنوا إحنا بنشوف من كل مكان، ولكن ما بنشوف كل إشي. فمن الصعب وصف كل شيء. فمن الأفضل when we reflect لما يكون في تأمل أو تفكر بنشاط معين، إنه يكون في تركيز على شيء جانب معين من الصف. motivation أو student engagement، كيف كانت مشاركة الطلاب اليوم، شو كان تفاعل مع بعض، فلازم نركز على شيء معين. وبعدين زي ما حكينا يكون عبارة عن تمرين وصفي وليس فيه حكم أو تقييم.
So it's always helpful to structure the reflective process in a simple way that you can replicate every time. And one of my favorite ways to do it is to organize your thoughts and your reflections into 3 categories. And I like to call them roses, thorns, and buds. And, you know, the thorns and the roses can go in first or second, either way that works best for you. Of course, the roses are the successes, the positive outcomes, your learning experiences. The thorns are the challenges, the difficulties, the questions. And the buds are next steps. What do you hope to do next time? And what are your plans for that?
Thank you, Kate. There are also other metaphors that we can use to reflect. فعادة الواحد بنحكي بدنا نتفكر، بدنا نتعبس كيف ممكن نحقق هذا الشيء. فكيت بالنسبة للوردة والشوكة والبراعم واحدة منهم، وعندنا هون أمثلة ثانية كمان. ممكن مثال المرآة زي ما بدأنا في البداية اللي هو انعكاس. ما هي مبادئي؟ كيف الوصف تبعي ينعكس على مبادئي وعلى الأشياء اللي أنا أؤمن بها. ممكن الميكروسكوب اللي هو to go deeper، نتعمق أكثر في التفاصيل، وماذا حدث وكيف كانت التجربة وكيف ممكن أحلها. بعدين ممكن اللي هي الكونكشنز. إحنا هون في أمريكا كثير بالنسبة لنا موضوع الكونكشنز، كيف to connect مثلا مع ما حدث أمس أو ما حدث اليوم وما سيحدث أو ما حدث في حصة ثانية. وهون بيجي الكولابوريشن كمان، إنه Kate, the example you gave, Kate, about thinking on the lesson was like collaboration with others as well, right? So reflection ممكن تكون مع الآخرين. And then في عنا هون كيف ممكن يعني منظور thinking about it in different ways. So هون هي المغزى هون how to think about things in different ways. لازم نفتح لحالنا المجال إنه نفكر بنفس what choices lie ahead كمان how can I achieve my goals. في أكثر من ميتافور ممكن نستخدمه لحتى نعمل هذا التفكر والتعمق. عندنا هون شوية tools لسه بنحكي عن الكيفية the how. في أكثر طبعاً من طريقة ممكن المعلم يتفكر فيها. One of our favorites إنه عادة لما يكون عندك lesson plan أو يكون في خطة الدرس الأسبوعية أو اليومية أو يعني كيف أنتوا حسب ما بتعملوها في المدرسة، ولكن عادة أو ممكن إضافة في النهاية 1 minute reflection. يكون في هيك خط في النهاية a line at the end وتكون فيها بس خلص وانت بتحضر الكلاس بعد ما قمت بالتمارين او بالحصة او اللي هو اخر اشي بس تكتب ريفلكشن، تأمل بسيط، تفكر بسيط لتين اللي تساعدك تتأمل اكثر واكثر فيما بعد. keeping a journal يعني عادة ما بعرف كم من المعلمين والمعلمات بيقوموا بتدوين يومياتهم أو أسبوعهم أو هيك، بس journaling يعني هي بتساعد في كثير من الأشياء يعني على الصعيد العملي أو على الصعيد يعني المهني أو الشخصي. فkeep a journal إنه والله اليوم طلابي هيك عملوا، في اليوم الثاني هيك عملوا، أو هيك أنا لاحظت keeping a journal. وممكن يكون كمان استخدام التكنولوجيا technology so you can have e-portfolios. واحنا بنعرف ان المدرسين في خلال التدريب لازم يعملوا بورتفوليو مثلا، ممكن يعملوا اونلاين، ممكن يعمل recordings، ممكن انت ما حضرتك ما عندك وقت ممكن انت مروحة تسجلي. انا بحكي لطلابي دائما just record it on your phone وانت في السيارة وانت في الطريق، بس سجلي انه والله اليوم هيك صار، او ممكن تسجيل فيديو، ممكن self assessment reflections كمان تقيم نفسك أو يعني تشوف إيش صار معك. reflection language and we're gonna talk about reflection language next. إيش هي اللغة اللي ممكن نستخدمها أو الكلمات اللي ممكن نستخدمها؟
So the language of reflection can be very useful to keep the tone of your reflection forward moving and positive in a growth mindset. So, sentence starters for yourself are just as useful as sentence starters for your students. And you could even organize this in a little note document that you use repeatedly, how you're going to consider quickly what your thoughts are in your reflection for key lessons that you would like to improve. That includes not only the challenges and what your ideas are for solving them, but also the successes, because you always want to keep those in mind as well.
Thank you, Kate. I also wanted to talk about these sentence starters because I use them with my adult students and they're great. أحيانا زي ما حكينا ما بنعرف وين نبدأ أو كيف نبدأ بالتفكر، أو يعني في أفكار كتير. There's so much going on. As teachers, there is so much going on in our minds, right? So لما يكون في هيك sentence stems أو starters بنسميهم، هاي يعني أسلوب جيد جدا في عملية التدريس. فبتكون البداية وانت بتكمل. And this can be used for our students as well, and we're going to discuss this in a little bit.
So, yeah, this is a very famous quote in American education. John Dewey was a historical figure in the United States to really focus on the value of education. And here's something he said: "We do not learn from experience. We learn from reflecting on experience." And so we're going to go ahead and move to the next slide to give you an opportunity to consider that now for yourselves. I think you all already have a pretty good idea of what this is, but to really zero in on what the benefits are to motivate your practice of reflection. You want to go ahead and...
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're going to use a different interactive tool here, and this is the Padlet. Again, you can scan this QR code, which looks very interesting and nice. And Kate will post the link, right, Kate, in the chat. So you have two ways to access it. And basically what we're going to talk about here is why do we reflect? So what do you think the benefits are for you as a practitioner, as a teacher, as an educator? Then think about what the benefits are for your students, and then maybe the benefits for you and your colleagues. So this is a Padlet. What you're going to do is you will add. So you can click. There are 3 sections, and we have the benefits to the teacher, benefits to the students, and benefits to colleagues. So you can, here we can just add So you can click on this. So maybe a benefit to the
That's the
students.
option.
I'm sorry, did you have a question? Oh, thank you. Okay, great. And what you can do, what's great about Padlet is that you can like. So for example, here I can thumbs up, improve education quality. I can also, oops, I can talk to you,
Yeah,
right?
so
So I can respond to you. We can, go ahead, sorry.
I just wanted to say, if you want to use your emoji thumbs up, how many of you have used Padlet before for your student engagement? If you want to put a thumbs up or in the emoji so we can see quickly who's done this before. This is a very useful collaborative activity tool for students because there's all different kinds of things that students can put in here, including images, and then they can vote on others' comments or add a comment to someone else's contribution. So, Ahlam, you're gonna scroll down and see what participants are adding, right?
Yeah. I don't know if I can scroll down. Let's see. We don't have too many. Some people are putting it on the chat.
Yeah, we can do that too.
Yeah, you can also add images, which is nice. Okay, so we can go one by one. So here we have self-confidence for teachers, improve teaching methods, improve to grow professionally, improve teaching delivery, prepare better lessons, keep record. Yes, that's a good one too.
I like that one.
Identify strengths and weaknesses, find learning gaps, beware. So a lot of positive things, right? Professional growth as well. So growth is a key word here. Let's see in terms of students, improve education quality for the students, teach them to take ownership of their learning. I see that some of you like, so that's great. Wonderful.
Voted
Yes.
that one up. Yep.
Yes, ownership is a big one. Yes. Especially with now the tendency to go towards student-centered teaching and learning. Adjust the lesson to their needs. Yes. So meet them where they are, build critical thinking, clearing their misconception. Okay. And for colleagues, let's see how less here, right? So let's try to put at least one in each section. And you can access this anytime once we put all the links. We learn from each other's mistakes, or we can also learn from each other's successes, right? So the roses, the thorns, and the buds, so we can always learn from each other.
Yeah.
Sharing best practice, benefit, okay, builds a supportive community in general, and we will talk about that next, actually. This is a great leeway to our next part,
Co-teaching.
Improve teamwork and collaboration, peer learning, professional community. Actually, if we go back, I guess, thank you for sharing.
Yes.
Sharing experiences as well. Yes, thank you. So lots of benefit for all of us.
So we specifically wanted to ask what you thought about the benefits for your colleagues, because our next section is going to talk specifically about how colleagues can collaboratively reflect. And we have a model here in the United States that I think it exists in other parts of the world, or it's growing more now, what we call a PLC or a PLN. And what that stands for is Professional Learning Community or Professional Learning Network. And you can go to the next slide. So as I said, professional learning communities, this is different from professional development. And the key idea is the key thing is that it is teacher driven. It's the goals of a professional learning community are driven by the teacher colleagues, not by supervisors or bosses or administrators in the hierarchy. So professional development is generally determined by, the upper administrators that gets passed on down to the teachers. But in a PLC, the teachers decide what it is they want to learn about or improve. And the idea that we call this is a problem of practice. What is our problem of practice that we want to discuss, examine, and improve. So it is needs driven as in terms of what the teachers feel their needs are. And by design, then, it is driven by the specific context that the teachers are working in. So an ideal professional learning community might be a group of teachers of all the same grade because they might have common needs or of the same subject or in the same school, depending on what the needs are. Now, and I worked with teachers who were in Saudi Arabia that had learned about the PLC, the PLN model, and they were having a lot of difficulty trying to organize their own PLC during the pandemic for obvious reasons. And we connected with them and we organized a very unofficial, informal professional learning network that we coached them on how to organize. When was this, 2021?
Yeah, right after COVID.
Right. Well, at the peak of COVID, really.
Yeah.
21, 22, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah, in the spring and summer of 2021. And so once a month, we got onto a Zoom and had this discussion. And then they decided, we didn't direct them at all. We were just there to coach them and give them ideas. They always led the way in terms of what they wanted to talk about and what were their challenges. And then they would just brainstorm together because they were in different schools all over Saudi Arabia. Maybe different communities were having different solutions that the other local communities hadn't thought of yet. So it was a really good way to cross-fertilize ideas. And then we would follow up with a WhatsApp chat. So they would post their classroom experiences and ideas in the WhatsApp. So it was 2 different platforms that we used. I think you can go to so that's what the comments are at the bottom there from feedback
Yes.
from our Saudi colleagues that we were working with in that year.
They were inspired
Yeah.
to keep the cycle going. Yes. So
Yeah.
it's very important to remember that it's teacher driven. مش من الإدارة ولا من أي حد مسؤول، هم المعلمات والمعلمين مع بعض. And it's needs driven. في مشكلة معينة بتكون أو معين. Thank you. Okay.
So this is a kind of structure that we used in this PLC. You can organize the structure of your collaborations any way you wish, as long as it makes sense for your group and as long as everyone has a voice and that it remains respectful and that all the teachers gain something from it. So this was the model that we used in our Zoom discussion. We used the roses, thorns, and buds model, and then we layered on top of that an opportunity for each participant to ask questions if they didn't understand what was being discussed. So there was an opportunity for clarifying questions first without giving any feedback or judgment. And then the next step was kind of the brainstorming discussion. Step 4, we gave some structure to that so that there was an opportunity to be affirmative with a suggestion or an idea, as well as some critical thinking about what might be the potential challenges for that solution or idea. And then we moved to the buds, and where we would decide what are maybe some of the solutions that the teachers in this group might take back to their classroom to see how they might adapt it to their context and come back with how it went with their successes as well as their challenges so that we could restart the reflection cycle as a group. And come up with even newer ideas or newer adaptations to older solutions. So we're going to actually try that now in the Zoom chat.
253 people.
We have a lot of people, and so we're going to kind of telescope it a little bit. This might take an hour to 90 minutes in a smaller group where we really dig in to a problem. But we imagined that perhaps one of the most common problems of practice is student motivation and engagement. So step one, we'd like to just focus on the thorns. Let's hear from you for 1 or 2 minutes in the chat, in Arabic or English. Can you give a short description of this challenge that you have, if it's relevant for you, on student motivation? Like give an example in your class, maybe be specific.
عن موضوع تحفيز الطلاب. يعني عادة يكون طالب مالل و not interested. So ممكن تحكوا لنا إيش التشالنجز، إيش التحديات في هذا المجال.
Yeah, what does it look like in your class if you have challenges with motivation and engagement? So
Being
we're just
shy,
going to
so-
focus on the thorns right now, number one.
Yes.
Just 2 or 3 minutes, and we'll look at the chat to see what is said. And then we'll move to number 2.
So just to point out the importance of modeling in teaching. كثير مهم أي نشاط أو أي إشي مع طلابنا إنه to model it. نمثلها يعني ونعطيهم مثال ونعمل النشاط كامل عشان الطلاب ما يجدوا صعوبة في تطبيقه. فعشان هيك إحنا لما أعطيناكم الفكرة اللي هي كانت في السلايد السابق حبينا نطبقه، بس إنه العدد كتير كبير شوي رح يكون صعب. Special needs students, no internet if you're teaching online.
Yes, I'm looking at these comments.
Yes.
So not students don't have enough vocabulary to express their ideas. That could be the
Length of
class is
time.
too big.
Class is too big, like this one, 250.
Yeah, the time is too short. The learning style, lots of different learning styles. How can you differentiate learning styles?
Somebody
Yeah.
asked a question in Arabic. So التأمل عن الصور هاي، لا هو التأمل عن موضوع التحفيز الطلاب motivation. كيف ممكن تحفز طلابك؟ فبدنا نحكي نتأمل أو نتفكر نتعمق في المشاكل أو التحديات، وبعدين رح نحكي عن ممكن بعض القصص الناجحة في هذا الموضوع، وبعدين ممكن نحكي عن بعض solutions.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different ideas here. I notice one is sometimes the students don't know the purpose of why they're learning this, right? Being shy of using the second language.
Go for
So yeah. So there's lots of things. So then maybe we might focus on 1 or 2 specific challenges there that might be the most common among the group, and then problem solve. So now I
Being
maybe
shy, I think, is the most common. I can read both in Arabic and English that they're saying students being shy. Maybe
students
is a
being
common-
shy. I think another one quite often is people, the students don't know why they're learning this. What,
Yes,
why are
many
we doing this?
times.
So then we would redirect the whole group to read through some of these examples and think, okay, have you had any strategies for addressing any of these solutions? So look through the challenges now in the chat if you can. And then now we'll move to number 2 and think it's not specifically making suggestions, but talking about your successful experiences with any of these challenges that are relevant to you.
بدنا نحكي عن قصص النجاح, success stories that you've had in relation to this topic in specific.
Yeah. So I'll give you one example. I really zeroed in on the comment that one person said here. The students don't understand why we're learning this. This is a very, very common challenge, especially when we have students from different cultures where there are different values. And a lot of our curriculum design in the last 20 years in the United States has really been zeroing in on helping students understand why they're learning this. So before we even start teaching the content, we give us what we call a schema activation activity that first connects it to anything they might already know so that they have a sense of empowerment of, oh, I think I might already know something about this. That's the first step, right? So there's 2 layers that I have seen in students challenging. First, they don't understand why they're learning it, but the second part is they don't think they can learn it because it's either not relevant to them or they just
Relevant,
don't
yes.
think they have the skills. So it's 2 layers of that. But then the other part of understanding why it's important is to try to figure out what context they are in that have meaning for them. So one of these elements is math. Like, why do I have to learn math? I don't,
البرهان والمطلوب.
yeah. So, we have many, many immigrant students here who don't see themselves in the big scale in our American communities. But my ESL experience has shown me that there are many, many role models of success from those communities. They don't come up in big news quite often, but one of the things that I have done is to find role models of people who look like them that are being successful in science, in engineering. So I will tell a story about, a young immigrant who then became successful in this job. And what did they have to learn? They had to learn math in order to be successful. And they could do it. And guess what? They are from, Oaxaca, Mexico, or they are from Bangladesh, or they are from Yemen, and then their eyes go wide and see there is a possibility. So that kind of motivates. That's just one solution. So that was my rose to that challenge that comes up quite often in my experience. So perhaps others can suggest some solutions now in number 2 if you have some experience with addressing motivation in your context.
إذا تحبوا تشاركونا في بعض القصص النجاح. But for the sake of time, we may have to move on.
Yeah.
Now it's 12
But you
o'clock.
get the idea of the structure, right? And so then we would move on to the buds, and we would zero in on, okay, what's our action plan before our next meeting so that we can repeat the reflection cycle. I highly recommend setting up a PLC in some context in your teaching communities, because as they say in the United States, 2 heads are better than 1 and 3 heads are better than 2. So, cross-fertilizing the good ideas that all teachers have in their experience can only make things better.
Collaboration.
And as one of you had put in the Padlet, establishing a sense of solidarity and community support is one of the key elements for a PLC model. That's one of the key benefits.
Thank you.
So going on.
Thank you, Kate. Yes, we feel very strongly about PLCs and how they can benefit us as practitioners in the field. So here are some suggestions and tips that, real quick. So it's very important right at the beginning to set PLC norms. So these are commonly shared expectations. So من البداية, مثلا when we meet, please no phones, for example. Or we have to have a certain way of how we contribute, right? So maybe for Kate and us and me, it was mostly like, if you have a question, please raise your hand, right, online, because it was much easier for us to manage the PLC or the PLN at the time. If you have any comments, you can put it in the chat, or so whatever norms will work for your group depending on how big or small it is and what your norms are in the school maybe, or as a group. It's very important to set those norms right at the beginning, just so everybody respects each other and that there is an equal opportunity for everybody to contribute to this initiative. Make it a habit. Okay, reflection doesn't have to be something that you have to do or something that you do Friday, every Friday we have to reflect and meet as a group. No, make it a habit, make it something that you do all the time, and then it just becomes second nature to you. Flexibility to meet your needs. It's very important to know that this really depends on you as a teacher and you as a community, as a group in the school, and what needs you need to have met, because it's different from every culture and every school setting and context. Okay, so now to me, this is very, very important because we really want our students to learn from us as well.
Yeah. So one benefit of making a habit of reflective teaching also, which you may have already inferred, is that you become a role model for your students in how to reflect and think critically. So in the problem solving, in reflecting in action, this is the students can see what you're doing. You're thinking out loud how to problem solve, and they can notice these things. But there are also more structured ways to encourage student-centered learning and critical thinking and reflection. So, as we said, using the language of reflection for teachers can also be for students. I want to mention that this PowerPoint is available to you as a PDF, and all the links in the PowerPoint are live and go directly to resources. So we're going to share that with you at the end.
كل المعلومات اللي على الباوربوينت رح تكون متوفرة لكم في نهاية اللقاء إن شاء الله، وكل اللينكس ممكن تحطوا عليها وتكون متوفرة لكم إن شاء الله.
So this is an example of certain prompts that you can encourage students to think about. This is for an English language setting, but you can change it to whatever your teaching context is. Let's go to the next link.
This is one thing I like. One thing that went well today was, for example.
Yeah.
Okay.
One key challenge with critical thinking in groups, though, is how to give everybody a chance to talk. You want to make sure that students learn how to engage in group communication respectively. And one tool that you can give them is what we call talking chips. So this is a handout. You can cut this up, and each student in a group where they would be discussing would get a certain number of these cards, and every student needs to use all their cards and use and start their contribution using doing this language function. How will they agree? What language will they use to agree on something? What language will they use to respectfully disagree? What language will they use to share an opinion? How will they interrupt politely? Because that is, of course, a language strategy. So to explicitly teach students how to discuss in respectful ways in a collaborative group is one of the things that we do, and not only as language teachers, but as teachers of any subject. So that's another key way to reflect.
I wanted to point out here that when we did this with our adult students, we use different colors. So interrupting would be, for example, in blue, agreeing in green, and then they would just have to use all their different colors, which works with all ages.
And then perhaps you already know about exit tickets at the end of a lesson. This helps you to understand what they thought of the lesson and what you might need to teach the next time, or perhaps reteach. My favorite is the 3, 2, 1 exit ticket. 3 things I learned, 2 things I found very interesting, 1 question I still have. And there are all different kinds of versions of exit tickets. But you can make it into a fun game. So perhaps you've already seen this. And this one here, the suitcase.
Yes,
one,
we'll talk about
we're
that.
going to use this at the end of our presentation. So
these are just some samples.
Yeah. Now I'm going to talk about Project Zero. This is another key thing. Project Zero is a research initiative that's been led at Harvard University in their departments of education for what they call visible thinking routines. And this is a really, really useful resource for me for structuring critical thinking and also classroom engagement. So I think rather than me talking, we're just going to play the video. And if you will expand that and also click the yes. Thank
What
you.
can we as educators do to help students become better thinkers? One might assume that a good place to start is to teach thinking skills. But is teaching skills enough? We often miss opportunities to use the skills we have simply by not noticing times when they might be useful. Good thinkers not only know how to think creatively, critically, and deeply, they actually do it. They have a repertoire of thinking moves to draw on. They're inclined to use them. And they're sensitive to the times when thinking would be helpful. In other words, they're in the habit of observing analyzing, and questioning. So can we teach this? Researcher educators at Project Zero have been exploring this question for many years and think the answer is yes. The thinking routines they have developed as part of their research invite learners of any age to be close observers, to organize their ideas, to reason carefully, and to reflect on how they're making sense of things. These routines are flexible enough to be used to engage learners with any artifact, system, or concept, including their own thought processes. Thinking routines are simple structures, for example, a set of questions or a short sequence of steps that can be used alone or with a group. They are designed to be easy to remember, practical, and to invite a broad range of thinking moves. They are well suited to leverage the power of collaborative thinking and transfer easily to any context. You can use them without training or prior experience, figuring out how they work along with your students just by using them. Thinking routines help students go beyond the superficial, inviting them to dig deeper by making the complex accessible. Through practice, learners become sensitive to opportunities to use their thinking moves in the wild, helping them to develop habits of mind that will sustain their curiosity inside and outside the classroom. Given the broad range of thinking routines available, it might be tempting to try out as many routines as possible. But this approach can turn them into mere strategies, subverting a core aspect of their design that they get used over and over again. Choosing one core thinking routine, for instance, See, Think, Wonder, and trying it out in as many contexts as possible is more likely to reveal the ways thinking routines can support individuals in developing habits of thinking and groups in developing a culture of thinking together. Once you and your students get comfortable with the idea of using a routine for structuring your thinking, it's easier to branch out and find routines that fit well with the kind of thinking you'd like to invite. For instance, asking deep questions, making connections, coming up with explanations, challenging those explanations, and exploring alternative perspectives. Thinking routines might at first seem too simple, but it is their simplicity that makes them easy to remember and to use. Rather than simplifying ideas, thinking routines offer straightforward ways to sustain learners in their inquiry into complex problem spaces. While it does take time, using thinking routines in your classroom cultivates a community of thinkers with a culture of thinking, supporting learners in becoming intentional in their shared pursuit of deep understanding.
Thank you. So I have a link to the Harvard website for Project Zero where they list all the kinds of thinking routines that you can choose from. But I want to repeat a key message from that video. You don't need to use 15 different types of routines. You can pick one or two to use in many, many different contexts and get your students used to that routine so they know what's coming when you say, okay, let's do See, Think, Wonder, or let's do compass points. I'd like to just show one or two examples of the resources. So if you can go back to the previous slide. Maybe you all know Think, Pair, Share, which is very basic. It's just giving students a minute to think about a question on their own, then connecting with one partner to discuss with each other what their ideas were, and then giving them an opportunity to share with the whole class what the ideas were. Why is that so valuable? Because every student gets to think. Quite often when you just ask the question, many students will just wait for the smartest kid in the room to answer, and they haven't really processed. But if they're all pairing, and you have to see that they're all talking, they've all given it some thought. I'm going to jump forward to another one, actually get back to the previous slide. I want you to see...
A bit tight on time.
Yeah. Let's just click to the last one, Step Inside. I just want you to see what the resource looks like. First, it gives you an idea of the questions you want to ask, what the purpose is, how it could be useful in a certain example or teaching context, or what content, how it can be applied. I love Step Inside because this routine asks students to think about someone else's perspective. So, let's see, we're thinking about snakes. And a lot of students say, ooh, snakes, how scary. Okay, now let's see, what if you were a snake? What would the world look like for you? And then they would have to pretend to be a snake and think about what it's like to be a snake. It's a very simple example. But I want to really point you to this resource. So many useful routines that make your students' thinking visible and helps them to see how they're thinking. It's a good metacognitive resource. Okay. And so the compass points is another one. You want to talk about this one?
Yes, but just for the sake of time, we're just going to go real quick.
Yeah.
Because we have other things to talk about, and we want to leave some time for question and answer. So this can be used in so many different ways. We use it in language sometimes, but in a different manner. So you can really tailor this to your needs. It could be what are so east, west, north, south, or it could be like, what does this word mean? What does it not mean? What's a picture of it? What's your opinion of it? So you can change this any way you want, but it helps students actually visualize their thinking, right? And
yeah.
And you can read more about it. There is a link. We don't have to talk a lot about this, but these are some things you can think about. How can reflective teaching be challenging? So you can put that in the chat if you would like. So we're talking about all the wonderful things about reflective teaching and how it's amazing to be reflective, but there are some challenges and we recognize that. So what do you think some challenges are? And you can put that in the chat. There's also this concept of reflecting on reflecting, to reflect on your reflecting. So remember when we talked about the different tools and the different ways to reflect? Sometimes some tools work better for some of us, but don't work for others. So it's also important to reflect on your reflecting and see what's actually working for you as a person or for you as a group. Here are some takeaways.
So yes, this is basically a summary of what we've talked about today. So one key thing is not only would you reflect after your lesson, but you could also take the opportunity to do some quick reflecting in action during your teaching. Yeah. Also, to be objective and constructive in your self-analysis and reflection.
Making reflection a regular routine is very important to you and to model to your students, because modeling reflection to your students will go a long way for you and for them. Collaboration empowers everyone. So we often think about reflection being a personal thing, or maybe just how do I improve my teaching, but it's also very important to think about it as a collaborative power that would empower everybody. Again, when teachers are learning, students are learning the importance of modeling and making everything better and improving the whole context. Reflective practice is an ongoing process. So we're not giving you a magic wand here and saying, oh, your teaching is going to be perfect if you reflect, right? It's an ongoing process, and it's a step-by-step thing that will eventually be useful to everybody. So here's our exit ticket just to model. Again, you can scan this code. And this is one of the methods that we talked about. So we have the suitcase, the freezer, and the wastebasket. So think about, so in terms of our workshop now, the hour and 15 minutes we've been talking, or 20 minutes, think about what will you keep and use. So that's your suitcase, okay? So what will you keep and use? The freezer is, maybe there's something you still need to think about a little bit more, so you're keeping it in the freezer. And what may not be very useful to you in your context, okay? So think about these three things. Go ahead.
I put the link in the chat also if you need.
Thank you. So the link is in the chat, but you can also scan this QR code. So this is your exit ticket, meaning you cannot leave without doing it. We're watching you. But this is one strategy you can use with your students as an exit ticket. And I've seen professors, and I've done it, where I stood at the door and asked them to write me something before they left. So these are three things you can write. So a suitcase is what will you keep and use? what the freezer is what's something you need to think a little bit more about. And the wastebasket, maybe you're thinking, you know, in my context, this is not really going to work, or maybe it's not very useful. So think in terms of our presentation today. Okay, so we'll give you time to do that while we do Q&A and finish up the slideshow. Okay, one last thing I would love for everybody to do, maybe after our session or whenever, if you would like to collaborate with others, is to commit to reflective teaching in your classroom. So think about these questions and maybe you can jot them down on a piece of paper. يعني بنحب إنه في النهاية يكون في action plan، يكون في خطة فعلية، مش بس حكي في حكي. يعني الوركشوبس وياي حلو حلو حلو، بس بدنا فعلا التزام وcommitment. فممكن نفكر إنه which reflective practice you will try with your students. ممكن نفكر ممكن أعطيهم أنا الstems to start with، أو ممكن أخلي طلابي يعملوا roses, thorns and buds. أي واحدة من هالاستراتيجيات بحب أنفذها مع طلابي. Which strategy for collaboration you would like to try with colleagues? Maybe you want to start a PLC or a PLN that's a little bit larger. How will you monitor the impact of any changes in your teaching? كيف ممكن أنا أشوف قيم إيش مدى تأثير هذا التغيير؟ Who will you share your plan with for accountability? عادة إحنا بنعمل كل هالخطط وهيك، بس إذا ما بنحكي لشخص تاني ممكن نعملها ممكن ما نعمل. بس إذا بتحكي لشخص تاني، ممكن زميلة، شخص في العيلة، فعلا الواحد ممكن يلتزم أكثر. فهاي suggestions on how you can commit to reflective teaching. Kate, do you want to talk about the resource Google folder?
Yes. I'm about to put the link in the chat right now. And also, I'm going to upload this PowerPoint as a PDF in the chat. But this is the Google Drive where all of the PDFs that we shared here should be available to everyone just by using the link. And I'm also now going to upload our PDF. Okay. So to answer one of the questions,
dear
here,
Dr. Ahlam and Kate, we are approaching the end of the session. If you like to sum up and wrap up all the material that you have covered.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so we did do a summary. We're just pointing out where our resources are available.
Yep, so I just posted the links to the Google Drive, but that link is also in the PDF that I just shared in the chat so people can download it. Okay? So
and we have a few minutes for Q&A. Not sure.
Well, I did see I have Q&As in here. One of them is actually about the certificate, so our host maybe can explain that. But the other one was where can we get the resources? So we've answered that also.
And all these resources are clickable, so you just click on them وبتوصلكم للمكان.
Yeah, the
Thank
PDF,
you so much.
The PDF has live links, live web links to everything. So شكرا, thank you so much.
شكرا جزيلا for the opportunity. شكرا دكتور محمد. بس في حدا عنده أي سؤال ممكن they can unmute themselves or they can put it in the chat real quick. We have about 5 minutes.
You can have your email there in the chat box if they have any questions. They can
of course,
send
they're
you.
Here.
Yes.
I saw many participants put their email in the chat, but I wasn't quite sure what we would do with that. Do we have access to that?
They can exchange the messages with their colleagues from other countries, maybe. Still 3 people entered the waiting room. You imagine? Yes. So thank you, Mrs. Kate and Dr. Ahlam, for your amazing session. Reflection is a very interesting topic. It's always interesting and attractive for us as teachers. And as we conclude this inspiring session at the Queen Rania Teacher Academy Forum 2025, we extend our heartfelt appreciation to all participants for your active engagement and insightful contributions. We hope this experience has enriched your perspectives and equipped you with the ideas and tools to foster values-based education in your schools and communities. You will receive your certificate of attendance via email soon, and we kindly encourage you to complete the feedback survey to help us enhance future events. Thank you for being part of this forum, and we look forward to welcoming you again at upcoming events. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Allah يعطيكم العافية. The pleasure was ours, and we hope that we hope we have access to the feedback right? We would like to see the feedback. Inshallah, Allah يعطيكم العافية. And I
Allah
hope you
يعافيك.
appreciated the very informal style. we
Great
had.
session with a great structure for
Great.
online session, mashallah. You're experts.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you,
See you,
Kate,
inshallah,
for being
in
my
other
partner.
events, inshallah. Goodbye.
شكرا. الله يعطيكم العافية. مع
Shukran.
السلامة.
Thank you. Shukran.
مع السلامة.